Caster Mode UI is up. We see our first battle betwixt the Mediterranean. We have these lovely deep water fish that everybody will be fighting for. Kor playing the Holy Roman Empire, spawning on the east side, going up with his dock. Szalami playing the Chinese in the color blue, spawning in on the west side. Going to be going in for his dock as well. Now, both of these civilizations, the reason why they do as well as they do, on water, is because of their wood economies. A lot of both of these civilizations, both HRE and Chinese, they do a good job of the gathering speed, or just creating, like the Chinese with their imperial officers, just essentially making resources out of absolutely nothing. Every time they drop off, instead of 10, just because of that IO supervising, getting the 12 instead. And this prelate, as he lifts his arms up in the air, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Friar Tuck over there, spreading his arms up in the air, probably reading from a gospel book, I would imagine, spreading the word of their Lord. And they will be improving their gathering speed because of that, 40% faster. I wonder what that prelate says to get him to work faster. Could use that in my daily life. Kor with the dock, and to get some fishing boats. Second fishing boat underway. This dock will be queuing the first Chinese fishing boat. Probably going to be able to get some of those deep water fish, as we know have increased gathering speed compared to shoreline fish. This villager will be gathering food. So now, as we get from Dark Age to Feudal Age in water-based maps, usually not too much going on. They're trying to keep their food economy, trying to get some kind of structure. They'll end up getting their gold in just a little bit later. And then as we get into Feudal Age, we're going to see these economies really take hold, end up getting a navy for one another. And then, as we know, there's a big naval change that happened just 3 weeks ago. There's people that don't play AoE 4 a lot and are just joining us. These naval changes have made quite the stir going into Season 3, with 3 different ships basically playing a rock, paper, scissors. And we have the galley, arrow ship, Hulk, which is a spring-old ship, and a demolition ship. Obviously for China it's a little bit different, just with junk, war junk, same concept. Rock, paper, scissors going with the arrow ships, spring-old ships, and demos. A lot of people are saying the archer ships are a little bit stronger than they should be. They do a good job of obviously getting rid of demo ships, but when in mass, they could do a good job of getting rid of spring-old ships. But one of the important things that I want to direct to your attention is the fact that all of these ships, if you want to make a good rock, paper, scissors, they take all 3 resources. It's not just wood and gold anymore. So your food economy that's stabilized here is rather important. You're going to need that food economy to make a navy. So usually it creates a little bit of a snowball effect, because their food economy is essentially attached to the water. If they end up losing water, or they're losing water, they have to pull their fishing boats back. They're not going to be able to produce out of their docks, not going to be able to make out of some of those ships, convert some of their villagers that they're trying to get wood for ships, going to put them on food. And then it just kind of downward spirals from there. So we'll see what both of these friends do have in store for each other as we hit Feudal Age. And both of them at about the 4-ish minute mark, maybe a little bit sooner, going to be able to get some gold, go up to Feudal Age. China doing a little bit better job of that, doing that first with Imperial Academy. 4 villagers on it, Chinese build speed, a little bit faster. Look at the way they build those rafters. Man, they are just efficient. They're efficient at building. HRE from Kor still doesn't have the food to go up yet. It looks like he needs 1 food drop off. Went with the forced drop off instead, try to get that Aka Chapel. And let's see where he puts it. Aka Chapel's okay. The most important thing that you really want to get is the wood line, right? To make sure you're getting your plus 40% gathering speed. Making sure this wood line is gathered, and based on the radius, it'll be able to take down all of these sheep as well. If he does need a little bit more of a food economy, depending on if he goes that route. But the issue now, Szalami up with Imperial Academy, and one of the first things we should see as his resources stabilize just a little bit, trying to get the wood, trying to get the food, is to transition into some sort of navy, and he will be able to do that as soon as he hits the 150 food. And does do that with a nice ship in the queue. Core, having the fear of God in his eyes, what seems like. 12 villagers going to go ahead and make that Aken Chapel, and what I like to call the Prelate Megaphone. Because the Prelate will go up and be able to preach in a 6-tile radius, all of these villagers rather inspired. And now we're getting underway with our naval battle into feudal age. Looks like arrow ships coming out of both players instead of hulks. Szalami also going with a demo ship once he makes a house. That demo ship will be going up. And we have our first little skirmish on the water. Again, these arrow ships, these junks with an attack of 6, they do have an AoE effect. And look at all of these fishing boats getting hit at the same time. Yes, they're getting a little bit of healing from the dock, but you're able to hit multiple at a time, which makes it rather damning if you're able to get there first. It looks like three of these fishing boats will run. Core with defender's advantage, has a couple galleys back here, will be able to take down this junk if he's not careful, but ends up backing up very well. We'll be able to get back to the dock and heal, which I would imagine in our first speedy explosive junk. Where is this thing going? It's all the way in the north, and I hope Szalami doesn't forget about it. No, he's microing it very well. It looks like he wants to take some of this. It looks like he wants to take some of this eco down. This junk trying to escape the galley, not going to be able to do that, and it will end up going down. But this explosive junk, as we see it just traversing, it's got to do something. Hopefully it takes down some fishing boats. The suspense is literally killing me. Szalami, do something with it. Core does see it. Explosive jump, though, rather fast. Only ends up taking down one fishing boat, and the only reason why it does is because the galleys were able to track it down. And look how quickly that thing just evaporated by all of the ships. We do have our first springled ship. War junk coming out from Szalami. Will be able to have good defense against the arrow ships of Core, because it looks like Core is just going for a mass galley kind of thing. A little bit of explosive demolition ships in the back. Going to try to take down some of these springled ships that do come out. With only 1 or 2 arrow ships, it might be a little bit difficult for him to snipe down demo ships. But because these archer ships do have AoE, it makes it easier. You don't necessarily have to micro each individual demo ship. As long as you get close, it ends up getting arrow fire against it. So those arrow ships providing adequate defense for that. Both looks like they're just kind of pawing at each other. Not much of a big battle kind of happening. But now, the middle of the Mediterranean sees the demo ship almost immediately, able to snipe that down. Second demo ship does end up getting that down. No springled ships, no junks were hurt in the making of that demo ship. And now with how much bonus damage those ships have against galleys, these galleys don't have a lot of defense against this. They're going down rather quickly. First springled ship does end up going down, however. That was a good skirmish in the middle. Good micro from the demo ships. Good micro trying to get down the demo ships. And now as we see our first naval skirmish here, you can realize how micro intensive these things actually are. Pulling your ships back, pulling them forward, making sure you have the correct ships targeting each other ship. Szalami making a transition into more arrow ships instead of springleds. Demo ship trying to come in from north to south. Doesn't quite get there. Still has a couple war junks in here. No springled ships from Core. And it's so difficult while you're watching this. You're seeing a lot of micro go on. These springled ships, Szalami's got to back up with these, I think, just a little bit. He's very outnumbered. And look how quickly that springled ship goes down. Just because of the mass amount of galleys that are there. That's supposed to be the counter. to those galleys, but they end up going down. Core's able to push them more to the west of the Mediterranean, right up against the docks of Szalami. And even though Szalami does have defender's advantage of this caliber, I don't know in terms of how many HRE galleys are here and how much constant production that's here, if he's going to be able to continue it. Looks like Core is just going for the throat here. Fishing boats in the back of Szalami going to be able to heal up this junk. And looks like some of the fishing boats are trying to come out to get some food also. I'm starting to think about, only with Szalami, we only have one on food right now. We don't have any other kind of food production coming out from Szalami, but his fishing economy, as you can see, as far as food per minute, 500 some out of Core, about 200 and dwindling for Szalami. It's difficult for you to make more ships if you don't have that food economy. And I think Szalami is starting to realize that now, only having 1 in queue to Core's 3 and 4. 3 docks producing rather simultaneously. We have some of these halted, just because he doesn't have the economy to do it. Macro a little bit troubling coming out of Szalami as well. Does have a lot of wood, just doesn't have the food to actually spend the wood, get some of those ships. And now we're going to see, just because Core idled that a little bit, let's see how much it magnifies at this point, as we have only archer ships, no demos involved from either player, no war junks or hulks from either player. Military count Core with the lead, 38 to 22, just because of how well he's been able to produce. And you might be thinking, well, he does have a lot of galleys. When does it become frivolous to actually spend on a navy? And then kind of when it comes to these feudal age battles, it really doesn't. If you're able to establish any kind of water presence and win this battle in feudal, usually the game just gets called. Taking a look back home, looks like we do have some land military buildings. We have a barracks coming up from Core. Core doing his best Malian's impression, trying to get a pit mine going. And has a blacksmith as well, which is very important to get some of these balanced projectiles, because they do work on galleys. Maybe a little miscue out of Szalami with a transport ship. Not really sure how well that's doing, but the galleys being microed around them. Looks like just arrow ships, but look at the numbers that we have on the top. It's 15 to 8. Going down a little bit for Core at 13. We're going to see if these ships are able to micro against one another. And it looks like Core, just because he's not fighting in his dock, doesn't have that much in the way of defender's advantage. Reinforcements take a little bit longer to come, but he will end up cleaning up this navy of the Chinese. A lot of these archer ships getting taken down. And it looks like Szalami has queued into springled ships instead. Gonna wait a little while for them to come out. The issue is his fishing eco has long since been dissipated, and now what does Szalami have to do? He transitions some of these berries in the background. These arrow ships gonna be able to take pot shots at this wood line, which spawned way too close to the ocean side. You see Core got a little bit of a better RNG in terms of map spawn regarding that. Szalami not really sure what to do. Gonna go for these woods up north, out of the way of these archer ships. And now with springled ships just waiting. We have 3 of them back here. I like what he's doing with these 2 docks back here instead of making this having this dock produce. Obviously, because it would be rather difficult for it to mass. But now that he has 5, he's going to see what he can do about some of these galleys here. And as far as how quickly you could take out a galley with the amount of war junks that he has, it just really doesn't seem like enough. But look at all this bonus damage. A lot of these galleys taking good shots. War junks having plus 40% bonus. There's a lot of burning galleys here. And I think we're going to see them dropping like flies rather quickly. Some of them being at 4 health, held together by paper clips and bubble gum, but they will end up going down. And most of Core's galley fleet has turned to shipwrecks, later to be discovered by archaeologists. On the flip side, though, because this food economy has been so stable at the duration of this game, we see a Burgrave Palace coming out from Core. He did have the 1200 excess food and does have the gold in order to do that. Burgrave Palace coming up. Going to be able to get some more crucial upgrades for some of these, getting some arrow upgrades. As we see, the blacksmith is getting marching drills as well, but balanced projectile is going to be beneficial for him as he continues throughout the game. Good army comp change, going to make a couple demo ships, just because we do still see a lot of war junks here. The amount of junks that he has now, obviously not enough compared to the galley fleet that is there. And he's looking to try to get a little flank on some of these fishing eco, maybe some of these docks, but these arrow ships do scout it out. Demo ships have to carry away. Just because of how many galleys are here, these war junks being rather outnumbered, they have to retreat as well to the south. And they will be meeting up with some of their reinforcements. Now on the backside, now that feudal age has concluded for Core, as we see him still getting sheep as well. He does have a fishing economy, but the food economy, he needs a hell of a lot more food per minute. And the reason why is because he is constantly churning out men-at-arms. And now in the Castle Age, these men-at-arms are going to make some sort of land presence. Going to have some military presence out of Core. Szalami, however, going up with the Imperial Palace. 14 villagers. That will be done at warp speed. Don't blink, ladies and gentlemen. That Imperial Palace will be up before your very eyes. Men-at-arms looking for some raiding opportunities. Finds a mining camp. Szalami does see that. And this was Salami's pretty much safe wood at this point. Well, this is an issue. That Imperial official in his fancy clothes just met a fancy death. And now all of these villagers are retreating south. Looks like they're going to go to this lumber camp instead. This is probably the only really safe wood line that he has. At the same time as these men-at-arms are raiding, we see a big naval battle coming up. We have war junks, only one, and galleys alike trying to come up with them. Demo ship looks like in the back, trying to get a good handle on it. He's going to take a back seat, however, for just a little bit. Demo ship rather late, going to get a nice explosion on that junk. Doesn't have any bonus damage on it, but Core does take the water victory here. And as you can see from these docks, firing lasers at these galleys, those dock projectiles, maybe I could see it here, has 36 damage. Some of these ships can't stay under them for too long. And now it gets to a point where, now that those upgrades are in, it makes it difficult to really conclusively take water just because of how much navy you need to take it down. But instead he decides to go on land to do that. Those projectiles out of the dock can only hit naval units. So these men-at-arms will be able to go ahead and burn down some of these docks, trying to take water definitively in the name of the Holy Roman Empire. Szalami, now that he did get the Imperial Palace and is Castle Age, he's going to be able to make some Castle Age units going with crossbowmen, obviously the good counter for men-at-arms. But by the time he masses up all of these units, I'm thinking maybe this archery range ends up getting supervised, because he's gonna need a lot of crossbowmen here to really effectively counter this. He really only has 3 with 4 in the queue, and I think this is the only archery range that he has right now. Oh no, we see a second one. And it looks like that one is not getting supervised. I think the lumber camp is getting supervised. So 2 lumber camps coming, or 2 archery ranges producing crossbowmen. Looks like 5 total, but for how many men-at-arms that Core has, I think he's going to need a lot more than 5. As we can see on the screen, he's got 34. Meanwhile, on the naval side of this fight, all of these docks end up going down. These boats have nowhere to go. This last dock will end up going down. And Core is in the middle of Chinese base, trying to just he's trying to not let these crossbowmen mass up, because it creates a rather difficult challenge for these men-at-arms. But now that the Navy has essentially concluded in the way of the HRE, with only a couple fishing boats remaining, and this last dock gonna end up going down, Szalami is definitely playing on the back foot. And as we see, economy 93 to 69, nice, just went up to 70, but wanted to say 69, and military lead of Core 61 to 10. There are a heavy amount of men-at-arms here. Gold just ran out, looking for some blacksmith upgrades. However, we do see a change. Good army con transition from Core, the crossbowmen. creating fear for a lot of these men-at-arms. Are going to get a lot of villager kills right now. Didn't move those villagers quick enough. And look at in terms of worker kills. Obviously, some of these are fishing boats as well. But a gargantuan lead of 32-1. Chinese trying to get some kind of farm transition going. Can't do that when HRE men-at-arms are trampling around your rice paddies. And all these villagers need to take solace in their village. Crossbowmen staying alive, however, going to be able to, just based on how many there are, actually going to be able to clean up these men-at-arms rather better than you think, but ends up going into the town center, doing a little teleportation trick. Magic of the Chinese going to be able to take down a lot of these men-at-arms, as we see Core's military count start to go down just a little bit. What is he making out of the stable? Veteran horsemen that are going to be able to take down those crossbowmen. The only thing Szalami really has in his military include crossbowmen, so some horsemen come out going to be able to be some good counter for what Szalami's trying to do. He's trying to save himself right now. Realizes he can't afford to do that. A lot of idle time. Hard to get all of those resources together. No food. It ends up having to call the GG. So Core's taken game 1 of this best of 3. And the first one being on Mediterranean. A little bit longer Mediterranean game than I expected, to be honest with you. As soon as the feudal, usually a lot of the time, as soon as the feudal, when it looks like you're going to lose water in feudal, a lot of people just call it rather quickly, but decided to play it out just a little bit, and I'm glad they did, because I love to see the naval transition go into food, or go into land, excuse me. And we can see, based on military count, when Castle Age went into Burgrave Palace, we saw this spike in military. Szalami wasn't really able to recover from that in the economy count, just because of the boats. We'll be able to do that as well, and obviously for economy, just because of how well he was able to keep his fishing boats safe, he was able to have plus another 5,000 food going into the game. Very nice play by Core, I agree. It is a best of 3, just because it's the semifinals. Against the pink Mongols of Core spawning in the northwest, gonna have a nice little town center and an Uvu next door. Gonna be able to defend that with the town center. And if everybody remembers a very long time ago when the game first started, what Core was known for, and that's for playing Mongols. He's good at all civs now, don't worry, as we just saw him beat HRE. But watching him tower rush people in some of the first months of the game used to actually get memed on a little bit, because that was the only civ he knew how to play, and started to branch out in all these other civilizations, and now is quite the competitor, playing multiple different civs. So I enjoyed this blast from the past. And spawning in our southeast, Szalami, playing as the Malians. Gonna be able to do his build order, getting his houses, getting his pit mine. That's a juicy pit mine on the 8,000, just because you can fit more houses around. It's a lot more pixels. Going to be able to add more gold per minute as he goes into it. Now, what's nice about this gold mine as well, I would say excluding where my mouse is hovering over, just this outside 33%, Town Center might be able to shield some of these houses. So for Mongols, you got to think against the Malians to go for some Dark Age aggression. And that is exactly what he's doing. Going to put a barracks up, probably going to make some 2x spearmen. Going to start traversing his way across the map to the east side. And now Szalami getting his wood going, making sure he's going to get some more houses around here for some steady gold per minute. Does make a barracks of his own here in Dark Age. And I hope Core does a good job of scouting. He's able to scout this, because I feel like for him, he's thinking he can get some free aggression. But I don't think that's going to be very helpful for him, because when it comes to this pit mine, you might be able to attack it from the south side. These houses, though, just because of how low health they are very easy to burn down, but it looks like they're in range of this town center. so he won't be able to do that. So let's see where he goes with these two X-Spearmen as they start traversing their way from west to east. And they're lovely pink, not one for camouflage's core, as these hot pink warriors are running from west to east, and it looks like some more will be coming up as well. Szalami sees it with the scout as we hear the Malian whistle. He knows that spearmen are coming his way. Those he have on his own, making himself some donzos. And as we see from the Malian game we saw last time, we did not see the donzos. So let's take a quick look at him before any battles come underway. Sick helmet. Okay. Spears, pretty cool too. The best thing about those spears, he has a little excess spear over here, is that they periodically throw them. We'll be able to throw a javelin periodically against nearby enemies if they have the ability to do so. And there is that javelin. Could be able to smack that spearman for 5 damage. Core not really sure what to do. It looks like he's going for a retreat. And does have this villager carrying what looks like lumber, even though in her hands is 0. Looks like for waypoints. Trying to find a place to put a tower. And around this wood line, based on the map that we're on, yep. Based on that wood line, love calling things, chat. I love calling things. Tower going up right here by that wood line, because that's the best way, again, like we talked about before with a Mongol Delhi game that we saw previously. Good way to stop a tower rush is to get an archery range, get a couple archers being able to take down some of the spearmen around as they go up to a feudal age. But if you stop their wood, they're not going to be able to do that. A lot of these donzos throwing their spears away. Khan getting their maneuver arrow. Those spearmen are going to be able to track down some of those donzos. And based on the military count, Core does have more spearmen to donzos. However, these donzos come with 1 melee armor, which over the grand scheme of battle, plus the fact that the spearmen are probably going to be injured because of the donzos being able to throw javelin, it's going to be difficult for those spearmen to take this battle. Core doing a good job with the Khan pulling this boar, and this happy little pork product will be migrating backwards. But back to the action. Donzos throwing their javelins out. Looks like they're trying to hit the Khan. Gets about half health on the Khan. However, didn't see this tower going up. There was a lot of micro going on. Core put this tower down. Szalami didn't see it, and doesn't know that there's a tower there yet. Maybe these scouts are going to be in range. Javelin's going to be able to take down some of those spearmen. Szalami moving his wood line a little bit more south. Szalami should know there should be a tower coming up on the other side, trying to make sure this wood line is 100% ungatherable. And it looks like, just based on Szalami's motions, doesn't see the tower, but Core deletes it. Only has this 1 tower for now, and this is a rather peculiar wood patch, just because it's more longitudinal. Whereas this one obviously more circular, as you can see. But the difference, both of these players, Manticore, coming up for Szalami, going to be able to hit feudal age with that just a little bit quicker. Going to be able to get his hardened donzos out before the Mongolians can finish their deer stones, just because of how many villagers were on it. 8 to the Manticore, 5 to the deer stones. It looks like with Core, this tower rush, it did stop the Malians from getting a really good feudal age. But now with these donzos are coming in, they are of hardened fashion. With now 8 attack and 100 hit points, will be able to throw their javelins. And that's the thing, they can act as somewhat ranged units while raiding. They're able to throw their javelins and just kind of run away. So let's see if they're able to do that to a Mongolian gold mine, because Core just got to feudal age, didn't get the arrow slits yet. Core does not see these villagers. Oh, pulls just in time. Look at that, and does the change with 1 villager going down while changing your formation speeds up that villager just a little bit while it was retreating south, and only one villager went down. First villager kill of the game, though. And now with this Uvu coming in, archery range coming in for core as well. Got to be making a couple archers out of here for the Donzos that are coming up. And Szalami has a little bit of trouble back home. Some of his Malian house is going to be able to be taken down. These spearmen are now hardened. Now you got to look at these based on hardened spearmen and the Donzos. Not only the melee armor, which is going to help him out, that big shield that's there, but 10 more hit points. So compared to just normal spearmen, it's going to be rather easy for you to take down. Of course, not at this not this actual population at a 6-to-1 count, but 1-to-1, those Donzos are going to be a little bit better. Villagers revolting against this tower, grabbing their torches and pitchforks, and we'll be able to burn it down, probably with 1 or 2 casualties. In the meantime, back on the south side, Donzo's going to be able to throw their javelins just a little bit at those spearmen. This one at 5 health. If there's a javelin, somebody's got to throw it. And our first Musafati warrior hitting it. There is the javelin. See you later. That spearman turning into a corpse. But we do have our first Musafati warrior having a 9 attack with +9 against heavy now. To be honest, I'm not really sure why Musafati warriors are being made currently. Now, I understand that they're cheap. 50 food, 30 gold, and that helps you continuously pump them out. Not a lot of armored units can be made by Mongols right now. Just because they are in feudal age. But one thing that you can see on the top of the UI is we are going to see some Mangudai, which I have not seen in quite some time. And a new Khan pops out, what looks like the 2nd generation. And some Mangudai will be with him as well. It looks like these Mangudai, as we found on the screen, and traversing, will look for some villager pickoffs. I'm not sure where he's really going to be looking for, because one thing about this map, another tower coming up from core, good presence of mind to do this with all of the other things going on. So many things going on. But able to put that tower down against that wood line. Tower down against this wood line as well, which probably was put up a while ago, but I did not see, just because he knows that Malians really do need this wood resource. Szalami getting absolutely upset about it. Gonna head put this tower up here, and it's gonna come up before this tower. I'm surprised he even saw that. Back home, gonna be able to pull these 5 villagers out. These Musafati warriors and these Donzos, even though none of them have any ranged armor, just because of the sheer mass of them, will be able to take down this tower. Villagers going with it. It looks like 2 of them end up going down. But as you can see, step readout for core going to be up just that little bit sooner than the Farimba garrison. I called it Marimba garrison, excuse me, but Farimba garrison still sounds like a dance move. Will be going up, and if you did not see the last Malian game, this garrison, because a lot of people see the cattle farms in the back, but Szalami going for more of a Castle Age push with the Farimba garrison, making barracks and archery range units 5 at a time, with unit cost converted to gold and reduced by 20%. So with those pit mines, obviously successful. Good raid with those Mangudai. All you need is 2 Mangudai and a Khan. Took down a couple villagers, trying to even out some of those worker kills that he's sustained on this gold mine up top. Step readout a little bit safer now on this background on the west side. We'll be able to get some nice gold. As you can see, 15 a pop. With that wheelbarrow, obviously, it would be a little bit more, but is able to get Springgold upgrades being Castle Age coming out of both players. Market going to be up for core, which is one of the things that a lot of, if you're a lower elo player and you're watching this game, having a market in Castle Age as Mongols is just a good idea, period. This step readout gives you so much gold, you're going to be able to use the resources you need. Mangudai continuing to try to get a raid on some of these gold villagers while these towers are going to end up going down. Looks like this one has arrow slits. Won't be able to get the Springgold emplacement. This one is researching the Springgold emplacement currently. Going to be difficult for those villagers to take down, but this lovely young peasant runs these Musafati warriors into a Springald tower, gets in the tower, couldn't get up the couple stairs, and ends up dying. Too bad. But does lead them towards the Springald tower. Some of the military will go down. As far as a lot of the raiding, a lot of the bits and pieces of villager kills that we've seen, not that much in terms of economy. No second town center I don't see out of any of these civilizations yet. And it looks like Core's just trying to be annoying with these Mangudai and these Khans, with the second Mangudai finally going down. But he's just trying to be a little annoying, make some kind of idle time. These veteran Musafati warriors, now that he's changed to javelin throwers as well as Danzos, these javelin throwers fantastic against Mangudai, as we saw one of the Mangudai just get impaled by one of those javelins. But on the backside, making Musafati warriors at 5 a pop again. Look how cheap they are. With 320, and how quickly are they made? Every 22 seconds, he gets 5 Musafati warriors. So that's basically, if you do the math, 4.4 seconds for each Musafati warrior. That's better than Imperial supervision. That's better than efficient production. And a lot of these Musafati warriors just going for, I'm watching Szalami just go for a Zerg type strategy. These Musafati warriors, on paper, look like garbage. with no armor, just a little bit of attack, but they do have plus to heavy units, so it kind of negates a lot of the Castle Age units that a lot of civs like to go for. But the fact that you can make so much of them, as we see military count 24 to 10, they do pack enough of a punch that if we have a lot of them, they're effective. And they were, as you saw them highlighted, in particular, they were in stealth. You can see them move the stealth, get a good first strike, as well as some of these. And a good idea by both players, getting mosques, getting prayer tents. Both of these players going to head drop a relic in for core. Wanted to briefly mention relic count as we continue going into Castle Age with Musafati warriors, javelin throwers, a couple Danzos still left, but it looks like he is just full going into Musafati warriors. Good idea against Mongols going into castle. Usually Mongols going into castle will make some of these armored units. We see the Lancer here, but a lot of archers here going to be able to take down the Musafati warriors pretty well. But just because of the DPS out of these Musafati warriors, spearmen end up going down, get the good damage on these Lancers. Those Lancers end up getting picked apart. A couple javelin throwers going to be able to, at 5, going to be able to one-hit an archer. Look at that, one-tapped an archer with 5 javelin throwers. So the Musafati warriors kind of have free reign, barring a couple of these outposts. Knights get absolutely eliminated. Not that many. And they can even one-tap, just because they are at 10 damage, they can one-tap villagers being at 5. 5 is the magic number for javelin throwers in raiding, in trying to kill veteran archers, and all that. Good notes to take care. Good notes to take when you're trying to play the Malians, trying to learn the Malians. New Khan Rises 3rd generation. Coming out here, but Core's army largely deteriorated. Finds a new tower. Man, these things pop up like fungi, don't they? All of these towers going around everywhere. It looks like trying to get a counter raid with some of these knights coming in on the back. Only one Musafati warrior over here, but doesn't have armor. A lot of villagers will end up taking it down. A little bit of a skirmish as well coming out of the south. A lot of Musafatis here. Gonna be able to take down this knight. All these towers are equipped with Springolds, so they're going to be able to take down a couple Musafati warriors in the process. But they do have enough where they might be able to take down this one tower, trying to get a repair on it instead. Javelin throwers making sure these archers are kept at bay and safe. And just because of those Springolds, the tower does end up staying alive. A lot of Musafati warriors went down in the process. But he can just pump 5 at a time out. And there's another 5 in stealth. Look at how well they're doing. They go ahead, they stealth in. They're able to raid here. They're already injured the way it is. He's got to vacate out of this berry bush. Core, I don't think, based on what we see here, we see a lot of production buildings, we see a market, we see a prayer tent, no pastures here. In terms of Gaia food, doesn't really have much in the way to go. These Musafati warriors quite speedy at 1.38 tiles per second, able to catch up to these villagers, able to take a lot down. And now I thought Core was doing very well in the economic portion of this game. But now that a lot of these villagers have to vacate, a lot of his food resources, he's still relying on Gaia food resources. Going to be an issue. A little bit of counter raid that we missed. A couple villagers going down for the Malians. And as far as worker kills with raids on both sides, 31 total workers end up going down. Szalami trying to stop the spread of this fungi. All of these towers, another tower coming up, trying to stop these wood lines from happening. These towers end up staying alive as well. And it seems the first time in what we're eclipsing on to the 19th minute. Nope, there's a worker. I was gonna say without any worker kills, but that villager might be going down a different day. Frogneko says an important thing in chat. The Musafari get buffed? Actually, no. I feel like they're just being used correctly. And they're able to take down a lot of these knights rather easily. That villager getting in on it. A little bit of a shiv. I hope one of you guys saw that. But these knights not going to be able to get a good raid here. These Musafati warriors coming in here on the west side, trying to take down some of these towers. These Springald towers will do a good chunk of damage to these Musafati warriors just because of how much health that they have at 105 health. But again, all it takes is 5 or so archers, and it seems like for how flimsy they are, but they really pack a punch against those heavy units, don't they? Using his Musafati to try to take down some of these towers. Let's go back up here as these villagers end up getting cleaned up. A lot of worker kills, 19 and 18 respectively. Economic count at 43 a pop. Score differential looking rather similar, and look at this Khan at 2 health. I was about to call GG. This Khan made me look like a fool staying alive. Musafati warriors are continuing to stay alive. Look at the military count, just because he's able to continually pump these out. 43 to 9 is the economic count. And even though it says 2, we're going to see as these things pop out. Nice little bunch of 5 right there for you. So we have all of these little raiding bands in stealth. We have a raiding band here going up north trying to find some food. This Khan's still staying alive and healing. We have a south band. This is one of those civilizations. Now that I'm watching this, the second time I'm watching Malians in this tournament, we understand how APM intensive and how difficult this civilization actually is, because look at all of the control groups that he probably has for these units. There's 21 Musafati here. There's 15 Musafati here. These group of 7 in stealth found the villagers. There is no way to see these being in stealth, so you're able to gather right on top of those villagers. You're able to take down at least a couple in the process. A couple villagers going down. Economic count 47 to 45 in favor of the Mali, but a very negligible amount. That's really the only thing that Szalami's doing so well. Because of all the gold per minute he has, he's able to keep pumping these out of the Frimba garrison. However, going for a little bit of a change, adding veteran sofas. Don't get comfortable, take a seat on those sofas, but they do pack a punch a little bit better than horsemen, a little bit worse than knights, so they will do a good job with a lot of the ranged mass that Core is trying to go for. He's trying to go for some archers, trying to go for some crossbowmen to kind of get rid of these Musafati warriors. And a lot of the sofas that Szalami is producing will help out with that. And he does have a great food economy. Why is he doing that? As the Malians, excuse me, he's able to get a mill and get cattle over here and harvest from the cattle. Now remember, these cattle, in terms of harvesting, we're watching that food go down rather quickly. Their gather rate is crazy fast. Here we go. Some more stealth Mustafatis coming in. Villagers cannot see them, will not see them. A lot of villagers end up going down. And it's just a lot of these little skirmishes coming out of the Malians, and we have a couple knights going down. It would have went down if there wasn't the entire shaman population healing that night, but does end up staying alive. A couple villagers go down. I don't know if that was an effective trade for Szalami, just because of how many Musafati actually were there for only a couple kills. Some backsmiths coming up. Before Szalami realizes no armor is on these Musafati warriors, and then the sofa obviously has the technology from the stable that will give it some armor. But now, as he's got some sofas, maybe he'll be able to take some damage on this step redoubt. Going to be able to take down some of these villagers. Going to be able to torch down some of these towers very, very quickly, just because of how many units he has. A lot of these villagers will end up going down. They'll get evaporated. Mongols have something to say about it. Coming in from south to north, these knights coming in. All of these shaman, they're at 8 different, going to be able to heal these things. Musafati warriors trying to take down these knights, but these shaman, I think they were healing just way too fast. Front line does end up going down, though, for Core. And this spells trouble for Core. He's got to be thinking retreat soon. He's getting zerged down. There's a lot of these knights coming in. The only thing he has is the back line with the crossbowmen and the archers, and the Khan is still alive. A lot of these shaman end up going down. Core's got to retreat with military count 38-13. That's a battle in favor of Szalami in my eyes. Continues to rotate backward with some of this mass, but keeps some back in the step redoubt. Going to be able to take down some of these towers. Just the addition of a couple sofas really helped him out, really created a little bit of a beefy front line. So these Musafati warriors weren't getting targeted down because he used his crossbowmen probably to take down, might be able to try to take down some of these sofas instead of the Musafati, and the archers could have been doing that as well. So now we just have random Zerg units essentially from Malians running around, taking down villagers in the process. Villager count 58 to 38 respectively. These are going down. There's a GG. Khan's down. This is the first one I caught because it's the third one. 4th generation Khan will be popped up in 2 minutes. These villagers looking for another Gaia food source because we don't have pastures here. Going for production buildings instead, adding more archery ranges, trying to get a ranged mass against a lot of these Musafati. And if I'm Szalami, why slow down in terms of what you're doing? Keep going with the sofas. Keep using the Farimba. In this step redoubt, essentially doing nothing just because that gold's not safe anymore. And the only thing that Core is actually getting gold from right now looks to be his 4 relics, which are giving him some gold per minute. That step redoubt being lost. A lot of these other... Here's a great migration. These villagers coming from north to south. Looks like they're looking for maybe a gold mine, perhaps? A Gurd is on some of these food resources. Needs those Gaia food resources. Dangerously close to this pit mine, though. Better be careful. Musafati warriors looking for raiding opportunities. Have some coming south. Sofa's being split up, also going north. See a step redoubt, nobody on gold. He's probably thinking, what the hell? Where's Core getting gold from? Besides these relics, he's got to be able to find it. Meanwhile, Core's archer mass going to be able to find these Musafati up north. He should know that this army is here with a maximum count, military count of 22. It looks like all of them. 21, 2, all of them in this particular area. He's got to know that with these sofas. Maybe he comes and makes a little north to south raid on some of these wood lines. Just because of this map that we have, you really have to be centered and focused around map control. You really have to think about a lot of your outside food resources, outside wood resources that you're going to need, because we see, look how far away this wood line is to his starting town center. This is just the nature of this map. So map control is huge, one, and secondly, and indirectly, as we see some of these pastures going up, how important it is to have some food resources back home like farms and pastures. But Core Realizes he's a little out of it. And game 2 goes the way of the Malians. And I'm pretty sure Szalami was, this would make him 2-0 with Malians. He did beat Divine with Divine's English. Szalami did end up taking him down. So 2-0 against Malians. The series is 1-1. Now his core won as the HRE against China on Mediterranean. So we will be going into game 3. Don't forget the Beastie series is after this, the semifinals, and then the finals best of 5 is after that. Lots of content coming your way. Szalami with all that gold just being Mongols. Or Malians, excuse me. 17,000 gold against 10,000, of course, with the step readout. The problem is his gold mines just kept getting constantly harassed throughout the duration of this game. Good meta change. I feel like that's a top 4 color, you know? Core playing as the Chinese, doing what China builds do. Gonna go ahead, drop that mill over here. Szalami spawning in on the northwest side, gonna be as the HRE. Now, for months in the past, and I remember before this patch, even like middle of season 2, this was almost unwinnable for China. Again, I'm dating myself with this being months ago. Now, we're seeing China improve vastly throughout all of the changes that have been made to Season 3. And for me personally, I think China is the strongest civ by a mile. Like, it's not even close. I thought they were broken a long time ago. So now we'll see in Core's hands how China gets played. He does a good job collecting his food and will be going up with what I assume into Song Dynasty, as every good China player does do. Meanwhile, back home with HRE, two things you got to worry about as an HRE player going up against Chinese now. Might be thinking Song Dynasty getting out boomed, and if there's some feudal age, aggression from HRE, usually you're not going to see it that much. Maybe you scout, you see a 2 TC Song, you're like, okay, I can get up to Castle Age, get the relics, get Regnants going, that kind of stuff. But for the Chinese, a lot of them get into some Zugnu rushes with 1 TC Song, and they're able to consistently pump out Zugnu, whether supervised by an IO or not. I've seen a lot of not, to be honest with you. These IOs, when they do supervise an archery range, they could pump out a Zugnu in 6 seconds, which to me is shouldn't exist. But I'm not going to get on my soapbox about China. I had made a promise I was going to stay professional, so we're going to cast China unbiasedly, guys. That's what we're going to do. HRE coming up with the Aachen Chapel. Pretty good placement. Going to be able to get a wood line here. May not need a lumber camp for a little while. Going to be able to get this gold vein and the sheep, depending on how much sheep he has. And this is one of those matchups and one of those civilizations as the HRE where sheep is important. Going to be able, this Aachen Chapel, going to be able to get a lot of these sheep. And there is still that little break, I want to call it a chink in the armor for the HRE, where when these sheep get depleted, they really don't have a safe area to get food. And that becomes usually like in the really late feudal, maybe just in the beginning of castle kind of age. If they don't get a lot of sheep, they have to go out. Maybe they have to get this berry patch. Maybe they have to go out to get this food. And it makes these villagers very unprotected. So that's what I used to see a lot of. And then there was that little chink in the armor. You're able to get a raid in that particular area. They can't make units. But we'll see what develops as we go into feudal age. Szalami with a pretty good feudal time of 346. Just because of how many villagers were on that Aachen Chapel, I counted 7. And look at this. Look at all these. Guys, where are we going here? What are we doing? This is the HRE player, mind you. If it was China, I might be thinking something like a Barbican. A Borbican, as some might say. But I'm thinking, with precisely 8 villagers and a prelate, looks like he might be thinking about this spicy pork product coming here in the east, and I don't think China's going to scout this because HRE is not something, not a civilization, I should say, that goes for boars like this, but it looks like that's what they seem to be doing. Man, they are out there. Gotta get some schnitzel. That's right. that's a good one. That's funny. Continuing to gather wood here, the prelate in his Akka chapel, getting his megaphone, spreading the word of their lord all over that 6-tile range. Barbican coming out for core, 4 villagers on it. Going to be able to get to Song Dynasty. And it looks like he will go to TC Song. It's kind of retro. Instead of going for a Zugnu, Rush going to go for the second TC instead. HRE. Getting that boar, and what's so great having the prelate out there is it can heal at the same time. An inspired boar. I don't even want to know the gathering rate. It's got to be massive. Couple barracks coming out for Szalami, and what he's thinking is because of that boar, and then he might be able to get this gold as well. Might be able to get up to Castle Age. It's like 1.25 gather rate. Yikes. That is insane. And we're going to see these 8 villagers, probably the only thing in terms of, yeah, all of his sheep now safe. And he's going to be able to have them later in the game as he transitions to Castle Age. And now he's starting to get some gold villagers. But Szalami is going to go for the throat here. I thought he was kind of setting up for some kind of Castle Age, maybe like a push here, but this is an archery range coming out of HRE. I didn't think they knew how to make these buildings. But they do, and here's an archer from the Holy Roman Empire shooting Holy Roman arrows at that scout. Barracks making spearmen as well. And it looks like back home for core, he's got enough stone. Just needs to macro a little bit to get that 400 wood, and does get there. Second town center right next to the first. So he's going to pull off having some 2C TC Song, and to my prediction is that Szalami might have guessed that this was going on, or scouted that this was going on. So this seems like he's doing a little bit of a pseudo Roos kind of build. In the Roos builds of old, 8 to a boar, get that boar out, get some spearmen, get some archers, go to town. Might be trying to do that against the Chinese, which against Song Dynasty, going to be rather difficult for you to do just because of the amount of archery ranges, the supervision of the archer ranges. Getting Zugnu is going to be able to tear archers and spearmen apart. So it's very difficult. China already starting to wall. Szalami does find that villager. That villager does have to vacate. Barbican getting a nice little pot shot on that spearman as well. And now, this army is starting to conglomerate just a little bit on the north side of China's base. It looks like, look at all these food villagers here on these berries. Because that food economy is super important for Song Dynasty, just because of how many seconds it takes. 13 seconds to pop out a villager at 50 food apiece. Gonna be difficult. But now China's got to find some outside guy of food resources, and HRE is going to see that immediately with the scout. But they're able to take down these deer. Good chunk of change in terms of food. Sorry, I spread out the camera. I shook the camera a little bit. But a battering ram coming out from Szalami in Feudal Age. It looks like he's not using his entire resource pool, as you see all of the food that he has. That boar getting gobbled up in, it felt like 30 seconds. I know it was longer, but And now with the first battering ram coming in, Core sees it, pulls his villagers out of the way. And now he's kind of thinking, oh no, because he doesn't have a military production building, but gets an archery range, is going to be able to pump out Zugnu. These villagers probably thinking about torching them down, but a little bit of HRE archer action. And these spearmen going to be able to take down one of those also. Now again, these are getting supervised now. Pump them out, 6 seconds a pop, very cheap, 20, 30, 30. Need some houses though if he's going to be able to see them. And it looks like another ram coming out from Szalami on the west side. And he's adding in some early men-at-arms as well. Now these are going to do better against Zugnu. Just because if we take a look at one of the Zugnu themselves having 4 damage with crossbow repeaters. They're going to need that ranged damage upgrade. But Szalami beating him to the punch with iron undermesh because he knows Zugnu are going to happen. And this is going to be very good for these men-at-arms. They're always only going to be hit by 1 for these Zugnu. Once they go up to 5, men-at-arms will go up to 4. And Core trying to bolster its defenses a little bit. Economy, in terms of villager count, insane in favor of Core just because he's 2 TC Song. HRE, obviously, not as much villages, but each of them being very impactful because of the gathering speed that they have. Now, first ram is trucking its way from west to east, trying to take down that outpost with the cannon slits. Szalami did start to transition to horsemen. Those men-at-arms doing a good job of tanking some Zugnu fire. And look at how many arrows this thing can actually get hit with. And they're going to take a lot of time to sit and deal with those. And we got a horseman back as well for a little bit of DPS. And because Zugnu don't have the rage damage upgrade, the horsemen were getting hit for 1 a pop as well. Just because of how much armor they had. So we got some villagers going down. Got some archers here taking down some of these villagers down here. But the archers will go down in the process. A lot of these units that are getting streamed in, what it looks like anyway, is their waypoint is vastly too far ahead. And I think he just made that change. Because we saw some horsemen, some men-at-arms coming in 1 by 1, coming in from west to east. Another ram coming in on the west side. Szalami seems no stranger of slowing down. In Fuel Age for the Song Dynasty, as far as worker kills go, Szalami did a good job taking down some villagers, almost in the double digits at about 9. But now he's going to have an army that's relatively anti-Zugnu. He does have a couple archers, which aren't going to be as effective for him unless Core transitions into spearmen, but does have men-at-arms and horsemen as a front line, which these Zugnu are going to be rather difficult. And a barracks coming up by Core with a good change in army composition, trying to add some spearmen with it too. And it looks like this IO will be supervising this. Spearmen coming out at 6 seconds a pop. Technology coming out at 6 seconds as well. Military count 26 to 12. And as he continues to make these units on either side, watch how different the military count goes. And here we go with our first fight into a fortified outpost. A lot of these villagers coming in because they are rather expendable, just because of how quickly you can make them and the fact that you have 24 more than your opponent. You could be able to take down that ram, and even though you do get a couple that end up going down, if at all, it's worth it in the way of killing that ram, keeping that outpost alive. But these couple spearmen are going to make a big difference for Core as they take down some of these horsemen, which are the main DPS unit against these Zugnu. Might lose to these men-at-arms, but do a good job taking horsemen down. And it looks like all of them did go down. These Zugnu, even though they're not doing much in the way of damage, they do have a decent amount of health. With the men-at-arms only having 10 attack, you gotta hit those Zugnu 7 times. And for how many that they are, as you can see, they're just kind of taking pot shots. They're able to, you know, dwindle down the men-at-arms. But now, with the 4+1, it's a little bit better. And it looks like those men-at-arms went down rather quickly. Now, if you're Szalami, after that, You can't be thinking about going in again with another army. You did a good job kind of forcing Core not to just to TC boom. He had to make units. He had to spend a lot of resources to do that. So instead of going back into it, he's going to go to Castle Age with the Regnitz Cathedral. He established some good map control in Feudal Age that we saw with these excess army that is left. It does have a decent amount of extra prelates as well, and based on the way these walls are, we have outposts coming in, and a lot of these food resources taken now by Szalami. Based on how these walls are and the fact that they are not finished yet, it looks like for Szalami he will have 3 safe relics, well, 4 safe relics, I would say. This one here that he's going to grab. He's got one close to home, and then one south as well. This was rather interesting of gameplay from Szalami, because a lot of the HRE, now he even has the time to come out and get these sacred sites. It looks like a lot of this military for China I'm actually searching for on the map currently, and I'm not seeing any blobs. Ah, there we go. With Zugnu, only 12 of them in his army right now. Looks like Szalami was able to see it back up with that prelate. Does get a sacred site, does get a couple relics at the same time. Castle Age men-at-arms coming in. And does have a relic inside this outpost. We'll try to get a Wololo off on some of these villagers. Not going to get it. Going to be able to put the relic back in. And try to take down some of these villagers, some of these Zugnu at the same time. This tower is just mighty annoying. And although you're going to get down... your villagers might go down, your tower ends up going down. It has fantastic micro while doing the other things around the map that I'm not showing you, like getting relics and all of these things. Gets the fortification on this outpost, so it has fire armor of 8. So these villagers not doing anything in terms of damage to it. Does have arrow slits as well, gonna go for a spring golden placement. So this tower will be staying up for quite some time, and as we're doing that, 3+1 relics coming in. 1 in that outpost, of course, 2 in the Regnitz, and we got a 4th somewhere else. This tower now with 5 villagers continuing to stay alive. Look at all of these villagers that are down right now. There's a graveyard that we just found, and all you need to do is repair that outpost just a little bit, get those villagers back in, or they all die. But all 3 sacred sites going in for the HRE, and it looks like they'll get just about every relic as well, as China finally comes up with the astronomical clock tower that we see in Castle Age. It does have a vast economic lead in 78 to 44. However, Szalami, obviously with a lot of passive gold, that's going to make up for that, for how many relics he has, for the sacred sites that he has. As far as gold per minute, he has about 1,000 gold per minute. And if you look at how many villagers he actually has on each, he only has 1 villager on gold. Don't need it, because of how much passive gold that he has. So let's see if he transitions this into a good Castle Age military, which is what he did in terms of men-at-arms. Has a couple land snakes in there. Got a knight or 2. So Core looking to stonewall after this. Not going to get there. Some land snakes coming in, going to be able to do some good damage. The only thing Core has is Zugnu and a couple crossbowmen. Hasn't been able to mass those crossbowmen up yet. Zugnu or land snake's going to be able to get hit by the Zugnu, but still getting a good shot in nonetheless, getting some good damage in. Couple good swings by some of these land snakes. It looks like they're not getting targeted down, so they're able to get good hits on ranged units. And a lot of these Zugnu have to back up because they are just not effective against the units that Szalami is making. All of these villagers are going to end up going down. We have all of these villagers with all of these units, like land snakes and man-at-arms, splitting up in all of these different ideas. And this is how HRE just ends up zerging you down in Castle Age. With their strong gold and their economy, they're able to get all these armored units, spread them out so much. And the best thing about them being armored like this, 4+2 armor. They're getting hit with some of these hand cannon slits from the starting town center, of course, but for how many arrows it actually takes to get these things down, because of their armor, it's approximately 155, which is how much health they have. Multiple areas around Core's base getting taken down, and to be honest, this kind of looks like a GG for Core. Core went 2 TC Song. The villager count is now equal with all of them currently idle. Going to be difficult for him to stabilize again going forward, and did get these stone walls over here on this side. There are still palisade walls all the way around here, some good raidable areas. And now he's got to rebuild his economy essentially from the ground up again, as these feudal age archers finally start going down. But Szalami, while his initial army was getting all of those villager kills, doing all that raiding, he's been rebuilding all the way in the back with 46 military. Core realizes he's a little dead and goes ahead, taps out, and that was game 3 of the semifinals. So going into the finals, this series is over. GG to both players, both Core and Szalami. Fantastic games out of all three. And we even saw a little bit of Malians, a little spicy Malian play. Some HRE, some China, but Core couldn't take the heat of HRE. They had a little bit of feudal aggression, and I feel like that made all the difference. It made Core change his plans a little bit. Instead of direct booming, he had to make the archery range. He had to supervise it. He had to do all that kind of stuff. So
we want to thank our MetaPlays website subscribers. Your contribution helps us keep the project sustainable. As we reach higher subscription goals, you are helping us cover more and more behind-the-scenes costs, such as video editing. Check out our subscription page using the link in the description, and remember to collect your perks. We will see you the next time.